Good morning, folks. Are you rotational grazing and are your fields getting way too high? I have that problem here on my farm, and today I'm going to discuss with you what I do to handle this situation. If you're not familiar, rotational grazing is a system where you take your pastures, you divide them into small areas, and you let the cows into that for 3 or 4, sometimes even a week. Let them clear that out, and then you move them on, and you don't come back to that area for at least a month. Well, right now, in that month or 8-week time period that my cows are not in that area, it grows back extremely fast and it gets waist high. So I'm going to show you how I handle that today. But before we do that, we have to get to moving the cows, which right now they need some water. So I'm going to show you the system that we do to get water to areas when we don't have a water line. The water hydrant you see down the hill there, that's the closest water source to get to my cows. And they are about a quarter mile at least down that direction. So this is the system we use to get the water to them. We fill up this IBC tote, and then we just have a filler on the back here, or excuse me, an outlet on the back, and we just put it onto a reducer, which I'm going to use a smaller water hose today and see if that fills up quicker. I went and got a 25-foot, so I'm hoping that'll provide more pressure and it'll let it fill up quicker. If you've been following along on the channel, this was the area where I had the sheep the last time I made a video. They cleared this out for us extremely well. This was about knee high, so they cleaned this out extremely well for us. It saved me a lot of time and effort to come through and try to weed eat that. I actually haven't done anything. The only thing I weed eated around was, you can see the flower bed up there and then the sidewalk. I weed eated around that, but they took care of the rest of it and got it down that short, so that's good enough for me. I'm not trying to be a landscape expert here. I just need my yard to be manageable. And this is Mr. Murphy. He's our livestock guardian dog. He's a Great Pyrenees. So I'm just a little puppy though. Yeah, he's only about 3 or 4 months old, so maybe 5 by now. I'll have to go down and look and see what date he was born again, but he's a really good dog. For a Great Pyrenees, he seems to be following the breed standard on that. We don't put him on a leash or anything. He just stays around the house. He does chew up quite a bit of stuff, but he's going to be a big puppy. They said his dad was about 130 pounds, and I believe it because he's probably not even half grown yet. He's already that big, so he's going to be a big dog. While we're waiting on the water tank to fill up, I'll show you what the sheep are currently working on. They are on this bank over here, cleaning this up for me. Aren't you girls? This side's not quite as thick, but once you get down there towards, you can see that black dot, that's their water tank. There's a lot more grass down in that area than what there was up here. It was pretty short because I had kept it mowed in this area, and then they cleared out this bank over here on the side for me and the brush underneath those trees. So the sheep have really earned their keep this year, keeping me from having to do quite so much weed eating and mowing and standing on banks, the things I didn't want to do. So that's why we got the sheep. And then also we were able to finally get our garden planted over the week. So it's been a busy last 4 or 5 days around the farm. That's why I haven't been able to make too many videos. I needed to focus on actually getting some work done. But today we're going to be able to have a nice long video and show you everything that we've gotten caught up on. Our top corner back in here, we've planted corn, then we planted potatoes. We still have this section empty, which I think we're going to do a little bit more beans and maybe some watermelon back there. And then this last section here is cucumbers, tomatoes, peppers, and that's also what these are. We're doing some from seed, and we're also doing some as live plants. See if we could which ones work better for us. I believe the live plants for the peppers and tomatoes will probably be the right call, but we'll see. And then here we've got our zucchini and squash. We've also planted some different green beans in here, so we're excited. This is the first year that I've had a big garden like this, so I'm excited to get some fresh produce and see how well we're able to preserve a lot of it. Hopefully we can keep from having to go to the grocery store for a lot of our vegetables over this winter if we can freeze and can a lot of it. And also we put it pretty close to the chicken coop there, so this fall when we need to clean out the chicken coop, we'll time that with the period where we're going to be killing off the garden, and then we'll throw the waste from the chickens onto this, till it in, and then hopefully we'll plant this with a cover crop to keep something on the soil all winter. And then in the spring we can put the chickens on it and let them scratch and till it up a little bit for us and clean it back up, so that way we have less tilling we need to do in the spring. So now we're getting pretty close to the water tank filled up, so I'll catch up with you as soon as we get out to the cow field. Okay, decided I'd give you a little preview of just how far the cows are from the water up here. Say hi, sheepies. They're busy clearing this out. They've got quite a big area this time. The reel, instead of the netting, has been able to provide me with the opportunity to give them a lot bigger area than what I could before. I maybe could give them a third of what they have right now if I was still using the netting. So that's the previous field that the cows are in, which we're going to take care of that today. What we're going to do is we're going to go back through. I've got my tractor. It's got a belly mower. I'm going to set it on the highest setting, which is about 6 to 8 inches. I need to check and see exactly how tall it is. But that's going to knock down the seed heads and a little bit of the stuff they didn't want to eat, but also not take the grass completely down. And then here's where we moved them into the last time. That's the section they're at up here. Hi, cows. So if you couldn't tell, this is quite rough terrain and a pretty far walk. So basically the only way to get the water there is to hook up the trailer and pull it with the water tank. So we made it out here to the cows. Right now, the first thing that takes the longest is to get their water filled up. So what I do here is I just hook the hose up, run it to their water stock tank over here. Runs out of the IBC tote. I always take the top off of it too, because I can notice a big difference in the pressure just from taking that off. And also this is flowing much faster with the shorter hose on it. So if anybody's going to do it, I don't know why I didn't think about this before now, but obviously having a shorter hose is a much much shorter distance for the water to travel, and just fills up the tanks that much quicker. So these cows are pretty hungry right now. They're also probably thirsty. It looked like they had drank all their water before I got out here this morning. So we'll get them moved into this new area while I set up the fence. So hang on tight and we'll show you how we do that. Previous paddock, the cows are busy eating some of the fresh grass right now. I wanted to show you what was left in this area. We do have some residual soil cover and some grass that they just didn't eat, but most of it they took down pretty short. Comparison across the fence line here, look at how much grass is still available. So they're going to have quite a bit to eat in here. This area is one of the weaker fields that I have, so I'm really trying to get a lot more mashed down, and that's again why I'm going to mow it too, because I want to help build the soil health. I'm not sure how well you can see it, but there's quite a few weeds and stuff coming up in here. And when I say weeds, I mean things that the sheep might eat them, but mainly I'm trying to get things that the cattle will eat. If cows eat it, I don't consider it a weed. I don't need everything to be the same type of grass. The wildflowers, when they come up, I don't consider that to be a weed because I've seen the cows eat them, so I don't mind. We'll take a closer look here so I can show you up close what I'm talking about. So this was a high traffic area. Right up against the fence is where I had their water tanks. You can see the green grass underneath where they weren't able to eat. But also, look at how well cows will weed eat for you if you let them. Right up against that fence line. Wish I could find a way to get my sheep on the outside. I just don't have any shade in this area in comparison to where they haven't been. So they've definitely cleaned it up for us. But this is kind of what I wanted to see. One, no bare soil, which for the most part there's not. I guess every now and then, like right in front of me here, you can say there's a little bit. Well, we've mashed down a lot of the grass in this area. And then I'll come back through and we'll cut these seed heads off, and it'll really improve this pasture. Do this for a couple rotations and I'll start to see a big difference. So every now and then where they really hit it hard, where they laid down, things like that, they tore up the soil a little bit. For the most part though, especially up here on this top, they left a lot to be ate down, but that's okay. I would rather move them too soon than wait too long in an area and not have much left. So I usually judge it by the shortest part, which the shortest was over here. So that's the way I do judge my grass, by the thinnest areas. See, like this, there was not much left here. They needed off of that or they were going to tear it up. We don't want to weaken the grass that we do have. We want to strengthen it. So let them come in, eat it, put some manure on it, and then we'll go back through and clean it up. So now I've got to get that fence line moved up all the way around and stretched out through that direction. So hang on tight as we get that done. Okay, it's been about an hour since I checked in with you. We've got their stock tanks filled up with water. Their fence line is run back through there. So obviously they can get through on the side where they just were, and then we wrap it around this way, and it's about 20 feet there in front of the truck that cuts them off. And the cows are out there adventuring around. I need to go get them wrangled up and put into here, but for now they got their water so they can come back to that if they want to. I didn't put the line up on that side so they can walk back in, but I also need to go get my pigs fed. I think they need a little bit of water too, so I can give you an update on their area. In case you didn't know, we do pastured pigs, which is where you're going to put pigs either on a pasture or in a forest and let them clear that area out for you. And then afterwards we go back through and we throw down some cover crops. That way next time they come through, they'll have something good to eat. So we're going to go feed the pigs, so hang on tight. Just as I was about to leave, the cows saw me out here and they decided they wanted to come back. There's our calves. What do you think? Happy to be on some fresh ground? Yeah. So glad we don't have to wrangle them. They came back on their own. I believe they wanted some water. So okay, made it down here to the pig pen. I threw their feed actually on that brush right there in front of them. Threw it right at the base of those, trying to get them to root those up for me. Clean up a little bit more, but you can already see they're making a big impact. Oh no, we got a fight. And they're gaining quite a bit of weight, so I've been happy with how they're growing so far. But also need to grab their water hose. I turned it on before I left the house. This is close enough I can run it through the woods down to here and fill up their water for them. So I'm sure they're probably getting low. Let's see. I can hear it. There it is. Yeah. So a little bit low. Actually, you know what? Let's go ahead and dump this out. One, it'll give them a way to make a better wallow, and two, it'll get some fresh, clean water in there, because that bottom, they can't ever get down in there to clean that out. So it's the only way to get it cleaned up for them is to wash it out ourselves. So that's what we did there. Now we'll get this filled up. So I emptied both of their water barrels out down here. That way they could get some fresh, clean water in there. That looks a lot better than that murky water they had. Also, dumping that water out gives them an area where they'll be able to make a wallow, especially in front of that other one. It's they've already got it pretty rooted out, so it'll be a nice bowl. I forgot to wear my muck boots down here, so unfortunately my tennis shoes are taking a beating and they don't have the best grip, so we're going to walk up the hill out of here for a little bit. But you can see they've done an excellent job clearing, because right on the other side of the fence, that's what it looked like when they came in here. Now they've cleaned this up for us. I'll show you where we've planted some cover crops and how they're coming through. So the last few days we got quite a bit of rain, so our cover crop is starting to come back through. I'm going to wait a little bit longer to see. I may need to throw more of the ryegrass out. That looks like what is mostly coming up. I threw oats, sorghum Sudan grass, ryegrass, and even some sunflowers. I haven't seen anything but the ryegrass coming up in this area. Up in here, I believe I'm getting some of the oats to start coming up, so that's a positive. So they can. I just wonder if it's been too dry or something for them not to want to germinate so far. But look at that. This here was all forest before. Well, shouldn't say forest. It was wooded, but it had a lot of undergrowth. Like this stuff here, it's some sort of weed. I'm not sure what it is, but that was coming up everywhere and through here before we put the pigs through it. So they cleaned a lot of that up. Obviously still a lot of modified rows and other bushes and brush in there, but they've done a number on them, kept them from spreading, actually killed them back slightly. And we're starting to get some grass growth. That's what we wanted to see. Slowly turn this into pasture. It's where my pasture meets my wood line. So that's why we started the pigs out here. This is actually the first area. So way back in February, some of my first videos on the channel, that's where the pigs were. it's hard to tell that pigs were through here. That's about the only way you can tell. It was cold, so we had a lot of straw piled up in front of their shelter. That way they could stay warm, but this has grown back really tall. This is about, you know, halfway up my knees now. So I'm happy with that progress and just how well they've cleared it out for us. So we'll keep moving the pigs through here. I probably need to get some more pigs, honestly, because the idea is I want to turn this whole area down in here. Obviously, I'm going to have to thin more of it out with the trees. I want to turn this whole area into a grassy meadow, I guess you'd call it, or silvo pasture. You know, there's going to be some trees and there's going to be some grass. So the fact that I'm getting this much grass growing out here, the more I push the pigs back in through there and start planting some more grasses, I should see a lot more progress towards that. Just have to pick and choose what trees I need to take out of there. I'm trying to keep the ones that have some sort of value, either shade wise, or if they also have some sort of fruit or nuts on them, I definitely want to keep those, because then they can give me shade and they can give me food. So that's what I would ideally like to do. That way in the summertime, you know, July and August, when it gets really hot and I'm trying to use a winter stockpile out here, let this grow up, I can put my grazers back into here where they'll be cool and comfortable and they'll have something good to eat. So that's the idea behind it. This has made a ton of progress just in the first few months of the channel. So I would encourage you, if you're interested, go back and look and see all the different ways that we've used the pigs and the hard work I've had to do to try to get it to this point. We still have a lot to do, but it's encouraging to see all this progress. Wanted to give a little bit of information about the fencing system we use here. So we use, this is Premier One hog netting. Obviously it looks like woven wire, but it's much shorter. It's only, slightly over knee high to me. And it seems to work very well for keeping the pigs in and making a sectioned area, and then you don't have to worry about them knocking one. If you have one wire, I've seen people do that with one hot wire. You have to worry about the pigs accidentally knocking it down or whatever. The only issue I found with this is when they're little, they can definitely just knock underneath that, because it's not directly on the ground, because that bottom wire is electrified on this netting. So they can knock that off the ground. And then also, a few weeks ago I was out here and one of my pigs was out, which happens from time to time. They'll just nudge under the fence and go through it. And when I went to put him back in, I had the feed bucket in one hand and he was in the other. So I lifted the fence up to try to get him to go through, and he wouldn't go through. So then I threw the feed over the fence to feed the other hogs and tried to lift the fence up, but he ran so hard that he got caught down here. He tried to go through it, and luckily I had a pocket knife on me, because I was able to cut it off of him. Even hogs this size, I was trying with all my might, but I needed one hand to hold the hog and one hand to pull the fence off of him, and I was not strong enough to do that. So one thing I would definitely recommend is, if you have this type of fencing, or if you're looking into using it, make sure that you have plans for those sorts of things. Same thing can happen with cows and sheep and any animal like that. If they want to get through that fence, there's definitely ways they can get tangled in it. So you want to make sure your fence is always tight, and you want to make sure it's hot. That way they don't get used to that, which I need to pick up that log there. They pushed that into the fence since I was down here last time. That is the one issue with this. Hogs do tend to root around and push a lot of stuff right up to that fence. So occasionally you have to go through and lift it up and knock the stuff off of it. Also, if you were curious, we have these 6 feeder hogs. We've got them in February when they were about 4 or 5 weeks old, I believe. And these are Tamworth and Berkshire crosses, so you can see some of the black spots on them. So if they were straight Tamworth, they wouldn't have the black spots, or at least that's my understanding. If somebody else is more of a hog farmer, they can enlighten me on that. But what I was told is the Tamworth is the known as the bacon breed, and you can see why if you look at these. They're very long, have long sides, so that's where your bacon is going to come from on them. But they're growing up pretty good. They're very very tame. When we first got them, they weren't scared of humans, but they just hadn't had that sort of interaction. So now that they've been around us quite a bit, they know that we're the feed people, so they usually come running towards us until we throw the feed out. But I've been very thrilled with how these pigs have done so far. I'm thinking this is right after Memorial Day weekend, so almost June here. I'm thinking I'm probably going to let these have another 2 months, maybe 2.5 months, and see how they grow out. I'm excited. These will be my first butcher hogs that I've raised, and so far I've really enjoyed having them. I've actually got a hog feeder that I'm going to use here in the next day or two. I need to get that set up so I can stop having to come down here twice a day. It definitely does get time consuming coming down twice a day, especially if you just want to take a day trip or something, and well, you can't do it in the too early in the morning, and then you got to wait and be back sometime in the evening to do it again. So just things to remember. But with this hog feeder, it should be able to save us a lot of time. Other than that, honestly, it's just been moving them around, which, the more they clear this out and make this brush go away, the easier it's going to be for me to be able to move this fence through here. So now we're just waiting on their water to fill up, and then we will head back out to the old cow pastures, and we'll start clipping those pastures. That's what I call it. I know a lot of people have different terms for it, brush hogging or whatever. I call it clipping because of how high I'm mowing it, and I'm not going as short, and I'm not using a brush hog. I'm using the belly mower on my tractor. So we're gonna get that stuff set up, and I'll show you how the results from cleaning up those pastures. So before I headed into the other field and started mowing there, I wanted to show you these fields and try to explain the difference on why I'm not mowing these fields versus the other fields. So this is one of the first fields we grazed this spring, and if you take a look, see how much grass we have growing in there. Yes, we've got really tall seed heads, but if you look just underneath that, there's a nice thick layer of grass growing. So yes, the seed heads are really tall, and it does look a little bit shaggy, but the idea, especially when you're rotationally grazing, is you want to preserve the grass. So I know I've already got this grass, and it really doesn't seem to make much sense to me to come through and just to want to knock the seed heads down to cut down all of the grass, because at ground level here, this is how much grass we have. This is the ground. Look at that. You're going what, 10, 12, 14 inches up and mowing off. I don't think that serves the purpose of growing more grass. I think that's just to make humans feel better about how the grass looks. So I'm not trying to do that. In the other fields, we'll go out there and we'll take a look at that before we start mowing. But you can see a big difference in there's seed heads, but there's not all of this grass underneath. It's much lower to the ground. So that's why I feel comfortable going ahead and knocking down the seed heads. And also in these fields, the soil protection is amazing. It's hard to even see the ground. So I don't need that layer of soil protection or thatch or whatever you want to call it in these fields. So I'd rather just graze them and let them grow up some grass on their own. Whereas those other fields, they're a little bit behind. Here's a thin spot. See this thin spot right here? Still, you can't see the dirt because there's so much soil protection. I've had this field here for a couple of years doing it this way. The other fields that we were in earlier is my first year doing it this way out there. It's actually my neighbor's field, so I'm trying to improve them. It's another reason why I'm mowing them, because I want to take care of somebody else's property and make it look nice. I made it back out to the cow field. Now it's time to get this pasture cleaned up. So around me, if you look on the ground level, you can tell there's not nearly as much forage available here as what there was in that other field. That's why I'm not mowing those fields. I've had some people ask me why I'm not taking hay off of them. I look at it like a savings account. If I leave the grass there, it's not going anywhere. Yes, it may not be as good a quality as fresh new shoots of grass, but it's better quality than hay. So I look at it as an in-between. I would rather not have to ever feed hay if possible. So if I can keep the grass on the ground and me not have to do the work and the cows be happier with it, that sounds like a win-win situation to me. And out here, I want to knock some of these seed heads down so they'll get into this ground. We've had a lot of animal pressure. Their hooves have been through here, busted up the dirt a little bit. So even if the seeds don't take now, in the fall, maybe when it cools down and stuff, maybe the seeds can take back off and thicken this grass up a little bit. So that's the idea. But so I do have quite a bit to get mowing, so I want to get that started. But before we do so, I'd like to show you what I'm using. I've got my Kubota. It's a 23 80. If you're not familiar with tractors, 23 lets you know how much horsepower it has. So obviously it's a very small tractor, but it works good for me because I needed a lawnmower, but I also needed something that could do some tractor stuff. So it fits that middle ground there. Honestly, I wish I probably would have went the next size up, but live and learn. And it's got the mower deck on it. So we're going to use this to get our mowing done today. It's a diesel, so it won't take too much fuel for me to be able to get this done. So follow along with me as we get this cleaned. All right, folks, I was able to get this field cleaned up pretty good. I call this good for a cow field. You know, we cut down the seed heads, we cut off a lot of monofloral rows. It took me about an hour and a half to do this one and the last paddock that they were in. I didn't get to the bottom field today. I am going to do that one, but I feel like an hour and a half on the mower is about enough time for me. I don't like sitting on it all day, so we're able to get that done. I'll take you through and show you a little bit. Again, it's not perfect. As I was saying, it's not perfect. There's still some stems and stuff sticking up here and there, but for the most part, we got it knocked down. And we got some more soil cover for us here, and it looks much better. If you're using other people's property, you want to treat it better, even better than you treat your own. So that was my philosophy with this. So if you've made it this far and you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. It means a lot to me. Also, we've had a ton of views, comments, likes on the channel. It's growing really well lately. That means a lot to me and inspires me to keep going on YouTube. It's not always easy getting out here and talking to yourself in a field with a bunch of cows, but I do appreciate it. As always, thank you for taking the time to watch this, and have a great day.